Hello, hi, how are you? Welcome all, dear students. So, the day 2 question, which is related to rivers, and specifically the topic called interlinking of rivers. I hope that you have written this answer. If not, please do write it and come back and watch this video. And getting into this question and try to understand as to how to write this answer. Before we talk about small note, by the end of this discussion, specifically with regard to this question, apart from this question, I'll try to tell you as to what are the cons on a global scale as well as the entire India which will be facing related to this interlinking of rivers. I mean, that was a study which has been recently done in the years of 2024, early 2024. So that can be added, but that will be an added information to you. But I'll be covering it as just a single line because of the paucity of the word limit. So do tune it until your end of this video, so that you'll get the other information as well. Now let's get into this topic. Examine the potential of interlinking of rivers, interlinking river projects in India, which is as a solution to water scarcity and regional disparity. So the first and the foremost thing you are supposed to understand as to what is this interlinking river projects is, and then you are supposed to understand as to what water scarcity is and what are the regional disparities which are prevailing. See, if you have gone through the preliminary exam in a much better manner, if you have prepared this properly, you might be having a better knowledge on what is water scarcity. In India, I mean, let's get into this discussion. Yeah, in India, we have two words. That is, one is water scarcity, and we do have another important term called water stress, which are two different words, and you have two different meanings. And India is now under water stress. India is now under water stress, where it is now moving towards much closer towards water scarce conditions. There are areas which are moving towards water scarce regions, and the majority of the area will be under water scarcity, if at all, if there is no proper mitigation activities which have been done. So for that mitigating activities, so as to make sure that water scarcity or water stress will not be prevailing in India, there was a thought to put forth in making sure the surplus region waters have been brought into the deficit regions and feed the agricultural activity as well as the industrial activity, so as to run the entire economic activity in a much better manner. So now we are supposed to examine first part, wherein we are supposed to examine the potential of interlinking river projects in India, the potential, specifically the potential, and then you are supposed to give an answer with related to solution to water scarcity and regional. What can be a solution, and that solutions will be leading to, solutions can be leading to both positives as well as negatives. Now, what are the potential? What can be your potential by interlinking of your river projects? So now, first and the foremost thing you will be trying to write as to what the intro is and why India requires interlinking project or river interlinking, and you'll be just writing as to why it is, why interlinking of rivers is required in your intro, which is for about 30 to 40 words, and what can be your potential in one or two words, potentials of your interlinking projects. Now moving further into the body, what you are supposed to talk about is the potential is, first thing and foremost, is your water distribution, isn't it? So as I told you, the water will be distributed from the water surplus regions to water deficit regions. So that's the major achievement by interlinking of your rivers. And your Himalayan rivers are having a large volume of water, where a large volume of water will be sent into the oceanic water, the seas of Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. Rather than sending all these waters into the seas and oceans, a few of the volume of the water can be utilized in the drought prone regions or deficit rain regions, rain deficit regions. So now water will be distributed first and foremost, so that there will be equitable availability of water all across your country or all across your political boundary. That's one part. Next, your irrigation and agriculture. Due to this, there can be a greater change where you get to see a greater amount of agricultural growth across different parts of our country. See, that's very much evident. There are few regions across your India where we find arid and semi-arid regions. So this semi-arid and arid regions has got a minimal amount of agricultural activities, where the amount of agriculture growth is also minimal because of your kind of availability of the water. So if you can properly irrigate a good volume of water to the rain deficit regions or drought prone regions or the arid regions, yes, you may have a greater amount of agricultural growth and you have greater amount of economic activity. And that will be a benefit by interlinking of river projects. And people from Andhra Pradesh might be understanding, I mean, maybe have a awareness with related to Pattisima project. The Pattisima, where your Godavari river, I mean, the waters of Godavari, where almost 3,000 TMCs of water will be left into Bay of Bengal Sea on a yearly basis. And what was the activity was done? What kind of activity done was, after a specific limit of water which can be utilized all across the Godavari basin and the Godavari district regions who are directly dependent on this Godavari river, the excess water have been lifted from this regions of Pattisima village, and these waters from that river Godavari have been sent to the regions of Krishna along the barrage of Krishna barrage, so that the lower riparian regions of Krishna regions, that is the Krishna Delta region, are receiving waters of Godavari through this Pattisima lift irrigation project or Ettipotala project. And the water which has been saved along the Krishna, by not allowing it to move further towards the delta region, which has been saved and has been stored along the regions of Srisailam, from the right canal of Srisailam, the waters have been sent towards Rayalaseema. So the reason is the Rayalaseema, considering it being a semi-arid and arid climatical condition where you have a greater amount of drought-affected regions as well, and where the availability of the water is less, where your kind of cropping activities are very much minimal. If you can send good amount of water across that region, yes, you may have a good amount of agriculture. So that's the major idea behind this construction of Pattisima. So yes, irrigation and agriculture can be having a boost because of your potential, can have a boost because of your interlinking of river projects. Now moving further, yes, this is one, this is two. Third potential can be your floods can be mitigated, isn't it? Flood mitigation. So even wherever you have excess waters or wherever you have a greater amount of flooding, I mean, majorly along your peninsular, I mean, Himalayan region, due to either because of your faster melting of ice capped regions or because of excessive amount of rainfall across that region, there are events of flooding on a regular basis. So as to reduce the rate of flooding activities, yes, the excess water can be transported towards the rain deficit region or deficit water regions. So that is one. And apart from that, fourth one, because of this storing of water and diverting this water to other regions, you can build good amount of canals and small reservoirs and dams where hydropower can be generated and the renewable source of energy can be generated. So this 4 points can be the potential of interlinking of your river projects. Yes. Now moving further. As a solution to water scarcity and regional disparities. Now, what can be it? Let's get into the new part. Yeah. See, with related to, as you try to examine as you try to give a solution, yes, water scarcity can be addressed, and as I told you, regional disparities are being addressed because of your water distribution equitably, and a good amount of economic activity in the form of proper distribution of water through irrigation and greater amount of agricultural growth, leading to good amount of industrial activity. And as we are asked to examine this, you are supposed to do with both your positives as well as negatives, and there are many drawbacks within this. What are the drawbacks? Yes, first and the foremost things, give me a minute. First and the foremost things, with regard to drawbacks or the cons, you have an environmental impact. Environmental impact is one. Displacement and rehabilitation is another part. Displacement and rehabilitation is another part. Economic viability by the respective governments, whether it be the state government or it be the central government, that is one, which is also a problem. And moving further, yeah, uncertainty. Because of uncertainty caused due to climate change, and there is one more thing where I'm not getting it. Yeah. Interstate disputes. So these are your major cons. So environmentally, yes, a large amount of biodiversity loss is there. I mean, let's try to build a few more sub keywords into each and every part of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With regard to environmental impact, yes, there is a problem with loss of biodiversity. There is a problem with related to loss of sediments, sediment loss. There is a problem related to aquatic change in the aquatic ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem has been disturbed a lot. And apart from that, I mean, let's say now best example is the regions like Krishna, or it be the regions like the mouths of Mahanadi, where along the mouths of Krishna and Mahanadi, there is no greater amount of enough amount of water, which is disturbing the both aquatic animals and the aquatic plants, where there is a greater amount of fight, and at few regions there is also man and man conflict just because of the lack of proper ecological balance across that region. So aquatic ecosystem has been disturbed, sediment loss has been there. I'm sorry for the sound, that's a mobile sound. Yeah. And there is a loss of biodiversity. So these can be your keywords across your environmental impact. And apart from that, yeah, environmentally, there is a change in the pattern of rainfall. Can I take one more slide? Just give me, oh sorry. I hope that you have written this areas. I'm just clearing this. From tomorrow I'll try to change the pattern of teaching. I'll be getting into another form. Okay, as I've written, let us first is environmental impact. So as I told you, one is biodiversity loss, which includes even your aquatic biodiversity. There is sedimentation, or the sediment loss, and there is fight among species for resources, and just give me a minute. Yeah, change in the pattern of rainfall. Change in the pattern of rainfall, and even pattern and periodicity of the rainfall. So these are the things which can be your keywords within your environmental impact. And then I told you about, so I hope that you have written these areas. I'm moving further, clearing this. There is displacement, yeah. Displacement and rehabilitation. Because of construction of all this canals, artificially built canals, and few storage reservoirs and other dams and all, yes, that's obviously there is displacement of people residing across that regions, close to that regions, and there is there should be a proper amount of rehabilitation. That's a major problem across that region. People residing around the river banks, along the river banks, isn't it? So they should be properly being compensated with a proper political will, because if they are supposed to receive proper amount of rehabilitation and displacement activities, there should be a proper amount of political will. So this can be your points for your displacement and rehabilitation. And then economic viability. As it is a costlier one, let's say now with regard to Ken Betwa interlinking projects, government has put out for tenders where they have asked companies to come and tender the project, tender the entire project, but no one got, do not have an interest to get into tenders and getting this project done, because there is a greater amount of fear. One is with related to the amount of economic feasibility is one. Apart from that, there is environmental feasibility, where they may have a greater amount of backlash with related to environment as well, because of the kind of permissions which they're supposed to get from each and every state and the center. So due to this, yes, the amount of economic burden or the kind of economic cost will be rising high. So due to this, economic viability is also a problem across this region. And later, as I told you, interstate disputes, because in India, river water is a precious thing, where mostly along your peninsular region, the availability of rainy days are minimal for about 3 months, and whatever the water which is available during this rainfall should be stored and should be utilized. And there is greater amount of sharing of waters. The upper riparian states and the lower riparian states share accordingly based on the tribunal's verdicts. So now what happens is, during this process, there is greater amount of disputes which are arising out of the sharing activities. So that will trigger a greater amount of disturbance all across the states. So that's one con, and that's again one more con. And then uncertainties due to climate change. That's the other point which I told you, right? So what is happening is, even I've informed you in the first instance, the point over here is, there is greater amount of uncertainties, where the moment you try to bring in good amount of water all across the regions of India, whether it be arid, whether it be a semi-arid, or it be a region which has got good amount of wet condition regions. I mean, what happens is, if they have been equally been distributed and there is no arid regions or there is no other semi-arid regions, if the entire region has been fed by good amount of water, the temperatures of the land do differ because of the kind of moisture availabilities, and this change in the availability of the water, and that there will be a change in the evapotranspiration activity, and that will lead to change in the amount of cloud formation and the periodicity and the thickness of the cloud, which will differ the amount of rainfall occurring across its specific regions as well. If a greater volume of water has been stopped by not allowing it to move into the oceanic regions, what happens is, yes, the sea surface temperatures rises immensely or changes immensely, due to which the rate of evaporation and the changes within the temperature between land, the difference of temperature between land and ocean differs, and the pressure also differs, leading to the changes in the monsoonal activity. So these are all things which is, that will later lead into a change in the patterns of El Nino, La Nina activities as well. So this uncertainties, which is, one is there is a rise in sea level, there is a rise in, there is a global warming activity, there is different activities because of climate change. Added to that, if this interlinking of rivers has been done, that will again accelerate this activity at a much faster manner, which will disturb the entire climatical conditions, which is a normal climatical conditions across this India will be disturbed, and that will lead into a greater amount of drought conditions or uncertain flooding activities across different regions. So that will be increasing. So these are the recent study which has been done in the months of January and February 2024 and has been submitted even to the Government of India. The reason is that study has been done just because no entity is now ready to come and take up the projects of Ken-Betwa interlinking projects. As you know, the Ken-Betwa interlinking project is the one which is to support and reduce the kind of disparities which are present in your Bundelkhand regions, which is to the northern parts of Madhya Pradesh. But that's not being done properly. The only reason is because of different disparities which is happening, which are different disturbances which are occurring across economic activities, across environmental activities and all. So yes, there are uncertainties due to climate change as well, wherein you can just put on few 1-2 lines related to it. And then finally, you will be trying to conclude it. As you have examined all these things in a much better manner, you will be concluding it. How do you conclude it? See, this is a promise which can transform the water management within this country, isn't it? Yes, and reduce your regional disparity. However, in spite of the potential to reduce all these things, this interlinking project should be done with the help of a better environmental impact assessment methods, and that should be very much open and transparent, and apart from that, a stringent environmental measures and adaptive management strategies, which are very much essential, making sure that this projects serve the long-term investments, long-term interest of the nation by not disturbing the original climatical conditions across these regions. See, you may give water, but it doesn't mean that you are going to disturb the entire ecological condition. For a specific period of time or for very important necessities, you may send good amount of water, but that should not disturb the entire country's climatical condition and disturb the patterns as well. So this is how EIA should be included in your conclusion, because this is a kind of assurance, or this is a kind of support which was thought a decade back, more than a decade back, many decades back, so as to make sure that water will be equitably distributed all across the country, and water can be managed in a much better manner. But yes, EIA should be stringent, and it should be very much transparent, making sure there should be reduced displacement activity, because even with regard to Pattisima, yes, CAG has made good amount of concerns. One is related to rehabilitation things, one is related to the amount of cost which has been escalated, and related to the other tendering process which has been done. So there are a few reports in different forms. So all this should to be curtailed. So that can be your conclusion. So that's all. So I'll be posting this answer as a PDF in a short while along with this video. Okay, thank you very much. Bye bye.